I play a man named Andy Hertzfeld. Andy was one of the original members of the Macintosh team. He worked on the operating system and the software that was used, among other things, in that original machine. And he's he is an icon within Silicon Valley, and many people think of him as, a rock star in his own right. He's a delightful man, and we got to meet him, and I got to spend some great time with him during the time of the making of the film. And he's precocious and open-hearted and a truth teller and a really loving, wonderful guy. All of those things. Right. This is the first time in which I've played someone who's still alive. I've played some historical figures, but to meet the person that you're going to be playing was intimidating. But he didn't make it, so he was just delightful and an open book. He really wanted to help me, in any way that I would need help. And the story is very personal to him, and he wanted to be helpful in telling that story as correctly as possible. I don't know for sure, but I think he has. I spoke to Steve Wozniak and Janet at the Telluride Festival, Janet Wozniak, and they were effusive, and they seemed to really love it and be very moved by the whole thing. So I'm pleased that they enjoyed it. I always find it's in an odd way. It is indeed a process. First, it starts with reading. Next, in this case, it started with meeting the man and being with him and just observing him and trying to, listen to his voice over and over again and try to absorb what it is that I can. But then the inevitable process is to take the screenplay, which is what we have. It's the story that we're telling, and to infuse anything that I learned from my readings or my interviews into the work that's on the page. And that's what I tried to do, is to show up on the day, to be as, open and direct and honest on the day, and hope that all that work and trust that that work infuses what it is that I do. So. They were at the forefront of turning what could be thought of at the time as, unwieldy, frightening machines into user-friendly devices. They were the ones who were at the forefront of the creative process of turning them into ubiquitous, friendly, day-to-day items that we seem now to not be able to live without, on the whole. Everybody seems, attached. Just walk outside, you'll see 10 people with their devices in their hands. They were there, thinking creatively, trying to figure out what could help people. What could help people? They were the pioneers, and perhaps they didn't think so. There was a great love of technology at the time, and there still is, but it wasn't necessarily cool at that time. And they were the ones that perhaps turned that page and made it, and opened all of our eyes to the possibilities of how these things could help us. Oh, goodness. I don't know what it was. It was as, generic as could be. It was inherited from my father's company. It was big and bulky and, massive and slow, and I didn't know how to use it. But everybody was starting to use computers, so I had to start somewhere. Just trying to remember the first day of of meeting them both. It was the same day, first day of school, and I was so excited. I couldn't really keep my enthusiasm down. I'd been a fan of both of theirs, and they couldn't have been nicer, you know. Danny's effortlessly impresario-like. He seems to be able to spin, a million plates at one time with such generosity and delight. And Michael was, stalwart and the eye of the hurricane throughout. I was hugely impressed with how he was able to take anything that was thrown at him and seem to be balancing it all effortlessly. I thought they were both interested in the work, as was I, and it made the rehearsal room thrilling to be a part of, because we all wanted it to be alive, and Michael in particular was really after trying to get at the heart of what we were trying to do with each of these scenes. He wanted everything to be great, and Danny just let us play. So it was kind of the best of all worlds. It's unlike any other project I've ever worked on, and probably any other that I will, in that we got to rehearse for such a long time before each of the three portions of the story. So to have that time, I think primarily was important, Danny felt, for Michael, in that he would get a sense of what the arc of each individual portion of the story would be. And, if we had to shoot it out of sequence, which most likely we were going to have to do, he would remember from our rehearsal process where he got 40 minutes into the piece emotionally, and be able to perhaps recall that from our rehearsal process. Because that's one thing that we don't necessarily get, is a sense of the culmination of the build-up to where all the energy leads to. And this is a piece full of energy and full of progression and full of rapid-fire dialogue. I think it was very helpful. It made us all really want to do it as a play, actually, to get a sense of what the whole evening would have been like. Thrilling.